we're going to go right to our next piece of programming here. Just to get it again, the talk is, where is it? Here it is. Okay. Investing in Web3 games, monetization strategies to drive engagement and interest in this new ecosystem, right? While you do that, get some coffee, some cookies. Lunch is coming soon. But for now, I'm going to introduce our moderator, Hervé Larren from Horizen Labs. Come on up. Give him a round of applause. Stage is yours.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you, everybody. There we go. Thank you, everybody. I'm Hervé. Great to be here. Just arrived in Dubai yesterday. Without further ado, I know we had a little pause between panels. Let me introduce you to Benjamin Charbit from Live Beyond Studios, Animoca Brands, Prakash from Ancient Starter, and Bilal from DMCC. Thank you, everyone. Wow, seems you have some fan clubs in here. Without further ado, let me start with the introduction. Let me start with the end here with Bilal. Bilal, if you can please introduce yourself.
Hello, is it working? Yes. Hello, everyone. Good to be here. So I'm Bilal. Just saw my head DMCC's business development as well as our crypto and gaming centers. So at DMCC, what we do very well is we build dedicated ecosystems for. Okay, closer. Right. We build dedicated ecosystems for high value and high potential sectors, and we've done that very well with commodities trade, and right now we're focused on crypto gaming and AI.
Perfect. Thank you, Bilal. Prakash?
Hi. Hi. Hi, everyone. My name is Prakash, CEO and co-founder of Engine Starter. Originally from Singapore, but expanding into Dubai at this point of time. We primarily invest in gaming, entertainment, and the metaverse. Done about 80 investments in the last 2 years. Helped about 63 of them raise capital on our platform. Very excited to be on the panel today.
Thank you. Benjamin?
Hello, everyone. My name is Benjamin. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Darewise Entertainment, which is now a subsidiary of Animoca Brands. We focus on developing metaverse technologies, so technologies to facilitate the development and operation of metaverse's world, and I'm sure we'll talk about this. We're also the developer of Live Beyond, which is an upcoming MMO on Bitcoin. And the third item, which I think is the most important to my heart these days, it's the launch of the first Bitcoin metaverse ecosystem with the birth of Ordinals a few months ago.
Perfect. Thank you, Benjamin. And let me actually start with you. So your background, you were part of one of the most successful games in the Web2 world with Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft. You work from there. So somebody who has a gaming background coming into Web3 for now a few years, can you tell us a little bit about that transition and what excited you about coming into Web3?
So Assassin's Creed is, of course, a big part of my DNA today. It's really inscribed in what I am. But I think something that is even stronger is the fact that I've been a massively multiplayer online game player as far as I can remember. When you play MMO, you spend a lot of time, you invest so much time into your characters, into your avatar, you end up owning all of these digital assets in the world. But actually, one day you realize you don't truly own them. And so this is really that component that really woke something up in me a few years ago with this idea of kind of bridging everything, massive scale open worlds, and very interesting gameplay, but this time with true digital property rights.
Good. Prakash, Ancient Starter, tell us a little bit about how did you get the idea about founding it, and what is the true mission behind the company?
Sure. So, for us, we started the company because we want to democratize venture funding, right? Our mission is to kind of find these allocations in good projects and share that allocation with our team, right? And we started the company in Singapore, and in Singapore is where we're in Southeast Asia, which is where I believe Web3 gaming really took off in a big way. That's where Vietnam, Philippines, and Indonesia is. And this is where people are really hungry for opportunities to play and to earn. And that's where we started out. That's where we grew our community. And that's where we've been building from.
Can you let us know a bit about the size of the community, the number of projects that you guys work with?
Sure. So in terms of community size, we're about 200,000 across all socials. We have localized communities for the regional markets that we serve. We do have a Turkish community, we have a Spanish community. But the bulk of the action that we're getting at this point of time is from India and Pakistan. It's growing organically. We're not doing much marketing, so to speak, but that market is hungry, right? They're coming in, they want to get these early stage opportunities, and they're growing. And that's currently where we see. We've helped launch about 60 plus projects. We're still in a bear market, things are a lot slower. But this is where we are now spending a lot more time with the community to make sure they understand the project. They stay beyond just the token launch to actually help grow the project, right? For us, token fundraising is a way that the community can come in, lock in that liquidity, and help the projects grow, right? If they're just purely speculating, it's not going to be sustainable. And that was the key thing that we struggled with in the early days of our business.
Bilal, you as the Dubai government, you see a lot of projects coming here in the crypto space. What do you see in gaming? What do you see? What excites you when you see a gaming project actually coming into the city?
Sure. I mean, what excites us really is seeing gaming companies take advantage of the numerous opportunities that are available at the intersection of gaming and Web3 and really leveraging all the monetization strategies. And we're playing a role in making sure that this happens. I mean, we have acceleration programs that are particularly focused on taking games from Web2 to Web3. And this is what we want to see companies also be interested in.
And how do you guys help these projects when they come in the city? Walk us through the journey of a project coming in, and what's the interaction like?
Yeah, sure. I mean, a number of ways. So we have a complete ecosystem, basically, for companies developing Web3 projects, including games. We have the Crypto Center. We also have a gaming center that are focused on games in general, not necessarily Web3. And what we give those companies is, aside from the basic, which is the registration, the license, the office space, the visa, which everyone can give, we have the dedicated support. So we look at the project and see what kind of support do they need. Is it funding? Is it acceleration? Is it scaling up? Is it technology? I mean, we literally just signed an MOU with Solana, and they're going to give grants up to $100,000 for projects that are being built by member companies of ours. And that's the kind of supportive infrastructure that we provide, basically.
And what do you see in terms? It seems that on a worldwide basis, there is some kind of friendly rivalry between different cities. I mean, we see Singapore, we see Europe, the US. What makes Dubai unique for projects to come here versus Singapore, for example?
Sure. I mean, there are a number of things. There are the generic stuff, which is Dubai's logistical connectivity, the time zone. You're able to manage east and west time zone from one location. Thanks to flight connections of Emirates, you can go everywhere within 4 to 8 hours. You can access more than 5 billion people, which is nearly all the population of the world. Aside from that, a very easy to do business environment, very easy to set up as a place to do business. So generally speaking, the supportive infrastructure is there. Aside from that, the size of Web3 companies have really grown. So according to a recent report, there's more than 1,800 Web3 companies in Dubai itself, which is actually pretty big compared to the region. Also access to funding and investment. I mean, there's, I think, more than 3.5 billion in Web3 fund operating in the UAE in general between different fund operators. So it's really the supportive infrastructure that gives it away.
I could add on, right? I mean, from a perspective of what we've seen in Singapore to what's happening now here in the UAE, I feel the UAE is moving very, very quickly. Regulatory is becoming very, very favorable, and the blockchain industry needs that in order for us to grow. Singapore today is in a place where we are kind of frozen. We can't move forward, neither are we going to move backwards. But this is where Dubai and the rest of the UAE is moving very, very quickly, making it very, very attractive for companies like us. But for us, it's not just about moving from one hub to another. It's actually now kind of building the connectivity between each hub, right? There's still a lot of capital that is sitting in Singapore waiting to be deployed. It still gives us access to the Asian market. And what we're doing today is to build that connectivity between the two hubs, and that's working very well for us.
Amazing. Benjamin, you after your presence at Token 2049, there was a ranking made on the Animoca brands, a Twitter post from Animoca brands saying what was the biggest news that actually happened during Token 2049, and actually it was you and the partnership between Animoca brands launching in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Can you walk us through how a gaming studio and the Bitcoin ecosystem, kind of like that match happened, and what do you see coming up in that space?
So maybe as to set the context for some of you guys who might not be aware, but several months ago, a very significant development on the Bitcoin blockchain allowed now to run NFTs or something similar to NFTs on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is not just a blockchain, the prestige blockchain for value transfer anymore, but it's also a utility blockchain. So this is a major revolution because Bitcoin, just as a reminder, it's $600 billion of market cap. So it's twice bigger than Ethereum itself, 44 million non-zero wallets. So it's just the most highest potential of a community that we have out there. So of course, developing a world like Life Beyond, for instance, which is aiming to become this leader in the MMO genre and in the metaverse genre, it felt like just a very relevant opportunity for us to go there and to also bring the powerhouse that we have behind us, which is Animoca Brands, to really fuel and nurture, entertain the development of this new ecosystem. Now, of course, we didn't want to do it by ourselves, so that's why we brought the best experts in token launching, which is Horizen Labs here, and I know we'll find some other partners in the future to do some really great stuff over there. So I think Bitcoin is about to become the new Ethereum in terms of utility, operations, NFTs. We're just at the very beginning of it, but I really think everybody should pay attention to it.
And for those who...
Can I add on something? So I was there at the launch, right, when you guys did the event. I think for me, having been in the Bitcoin or the crypto space for some time, everything happens in a cycle. And Bitcoin being the early pioneer, and now we're coming back one full cycle where there's real, true utility, right? All of us has a Bitcoin story. We all came in some way through Bitcoin. But now there's a way that you guys are unlocking that utility, and the fact that you guys are going to be the first metaverse project to launch in the BRC20 network is really, really exciting. Because for a lot of us who hodl our Bitcoin, it's stuck there, right? But now we can actually participate in an ecosystem, put that value into a digital asset that you guys are building, and actually be able to extract some value out of that. So we are really excited about what you guys are doing.
See, what we just experienced here, which is amazing, thank you so much for this, is the true definition of network effect, which is the ethos of blockchain operations. The idea that now every stakeholder, every contributor, or every participant to the network is a stakeholder and benefits from the growth of the network. So it means that whatever value you bring, you also benefit because the network grows and everybody really gets an interest in here. This is a very good example where people start talking about it for you, and you have this kind of growth loop happening, not because you are just trying to take all the opportunity, but because you are bringing opportunity to the network. I think it's a great time right now where, of course, we take all of the lesson, especially in the bear market, right, where we are not just trying to replicate the playbook of Ethereum. There were a lot of good things, a lot of bad things, and now we can kind of start a little bit from a blank slate, but with all of these learnings, and of course, on the prestige ecosystem, which is Bitcoin.
And you were mentioning the different ecosystems. So what do you think are the successes of Ethereum's that can be applied to the Bitcoin ecosystem? Because you're, being part of Animoca Brands and 450 portfolio companies, there are some learnings from the other companies. What do you take from these companies and use this, to build onto something that is the biggest liquidity chains, but at the same time, with a new utility element to it?
I think it's a great question because I see two two main drivers or two main categories. The first one is is users. You know, what drove so many users to Ethereum, and the second one is awareness. Is mainstream awareness, because we need both. You need a lot of users, but you also need to everybody to talk about it so that we go beyond even the number of users that we have already on Ethereum. So to the first point, which is users liquidity, it was not driven by NFTs, it was not driven by culture or entertainment, it was driven by DeFi. You know, and decentralized finance is what really fueled the growth of the Ethereum ecosystem. So that's a requirement, and there are a lot of really great projects, protocols that are in development right now. There's Alex, there is Liquidium that are coming to the Bitcoin ecosystem to basically recreate the same thing. The second item, which is regardless of, you know, because DeFi was very important, but it was a very specific category of users. Still, even my mom heard of NFTs. She doesn't really understand how it works, but she heard about it. So this is the second item, which was culture. As soon as like Ethereum became the homeland of culture on the blockchain, and of course after other chains and layer 2 really kind of kept entertaining the engine here, but culture, entertainment are major driver, and of course gaming. We all think here, and I think everybody has been saying it for the past 2 years. Gaming will be the driver to mass adoption. This is maybe the only part where we haven't really successfully delivered on the Ethereum ecosystem, mostly because of a lack of really high-quality games, because, you know, these things take time and they're coming.
Prakash, in terms of the gaming elements, you as a launchpad, what are you see as the success of what makes a successful launch versus games that really never take off or still, you know, don't execute to their roadmap?
Sure. So looking back at the last 2 years for us, the narrative has kind of shifted. And I think in the early days, it was pure speculation. You know, we're kind of building this hype. People were creating a whole lot of artificial numbers, whether it's on their community or whether it's on traction, and they all failed to deliver, right? And the narrative back then was all around play to earn, which is purely a grind, right? You know, we're just saying, you spend a lot of this time, you're going to make this money, and you get some value out of it. But that wasn't really sustainable because the quality of the games that we had supported were not there. But now the narrative is shifting, right? Where it's shifting towards higher quality games, it's shifting towards true entertainment value. And then through that process, you actually make money, or, you know, you convert your time into something a bit more valuable. So that's kind of where the maturity of the industry is coming in. With the protocols, you know, the performance is definitely getting a lot better. So the user experience becomes a lot easier. And this is where a lot more Web2 gamers can be onboarded. But it needs to be done in a very sustainable way. We're not just selling something which is short-term, and then, you know, everyone gets disappointed and leaves the ecosystem.
So what do you see as the biggest trend? Is it Web2 games going into Web3 or Web3 native games that are being launched?
I think what we're going to see is a lot of Web2 games that have built games. They know the science behind gaming, and now they're coming into Web3. And this is where, you know, we're supporting a lot of projects. So we just announced a partnership with Miston Labs. They have a strong pipeline of Web2 games, AA, AAA games that are now coming into Web3, and now we're helping them through that process, kind of helping them build that community, but making sure that, you know, these are communities that come in to actually play the games. You know, they're incentivized to stay and play the games. And I think what we're also doing is we're changing the incentive programs. We're making sure that we get these people locked in to actually play the games and get rewarded because they play the games and not just speculating on the token.
And I think we shouldn't really over-engineer these things. You know, there will be a time where we can start building truly native Web3 games with like a form of like the game logic that will run on chain, but we still need to build more technologies to do this. Right now, the first step is already just to say these are the same games, but your assets, your property, live on-chain, which is already a major improvement from what we have in the Web2 world, because now you have access to a whole decentralized economy where you can truly own your assets and do whatever you want. The second item is the fact that because it runs on the blockchain and that all of this is stored, it means that any other third party can enter in a permissionless way and build additional services on top of your experience. So, you know, before thinking about creating these really native experiences, we can already make such a big move by improving the Web2 games with the benefit of Web3.
Bilal, one of the big news that is expected in the US is the ETF, the Bitcoin ETF to be approved. That has been in the making for a number of years. You know, scrolling through Twitter, we see that, well, maybe it's this week, maybe it's by the end of the year, maybe it's Q1 next year, but it seems that it's in the pipeline. From a perspective of Dubai, how does the ETF approval in the US change the market here? Can we expect that maybe financial institutions are also going to launch Bitcoin ETF? Do we expect, you know, more the development of the Bitcoin blockchain to happen? How do you guys prepare for that potential news that is gonna happen?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, look, with the introduction of regulations here, it really helped shift the interest, and we're seeing more interest from institutional investors looking at investing in Web3 projects and you know, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies in general. So that will already help Dubai by default attract more financial products and financial instruments to be created around crypto, basically. So yes, definitely we're watching the space, and it will impact us. Just to add a little bit further to here, I mean, look, we're looking at Web3 projects. I mean, whether it's a game or a metaverse in general, what we would advise people is to really try and solve a real-world problem. I mean, this is what we're looking at the DMCC as well, is taking the crypto center to the metaverse and all the interactions that we already provide our members and the connections that we give our crypto companies to the mainstream sector that we have in the commodity space. Taking it to the metaverse and making that interaction more immersive is really a good use case. And yes, if you're building a game, it's got to be fun, but look at what is a real-world problem that you're trying to solve and bridging between elements of the physical world and the gaming world together will actually increase the use case and the user. I'm sure you guys agree at some point.
So yeah, so one way that we're actually doing that is to kind of bring that into the sustainability space. You know, we're speaking of projects that we can potentially integrate carbon credits into it. So this way, you know, we're tokenizing real-world assets. There's some real-world utility, and there's some impact and something good that actually comes out of that. So that's one of the key things that we're currently working on.
One of the real-world problems that is often ranked as, you know, the number one you know, problem to solve is real estate, just because of the sheer size of the asset. And Dubai is often quoted as one of the places that could figure out that problem the first. What is the status regarding tokenization of real estate, for example?
There are a number of projects being worked on right now for tokenizing real estate. I think none of them have completely materialized, but there's actually one in our zone as well, in DMCC.
And what do you see when you know, companies are coming to your zone? Usually, from which country are they actually coming? Like, what type of countries are usually attracted to come to Dubai?
Yeah, sure, all over. I mean, we have the number one has always been India for us, being the closest and the biggest, basically, trading partner. But we see a lot of interest from China, from UK, from Russia, from Europe in general. So we got Germany, Italy, Switzerland. Also has highly represented in terms of projects coming to the crypto and gaming world. We're seeing a lot more interest from Korea lately. I mean, the last 1 year, a lot more, especially in the Web3 space. All kinds. I mean, we have DeFi companies, OTC trading desks, blockchain as a service. All kind of subsegments of the Web3 ecosystem is coming to us, basically.
Prakash, when you see projects being developed, what is usually the go-to chain, or at least the ranking of chains that you usually go to actually start building their project?
So again, we always look for chains that we can work with, where they can provide some funding support, where they can provide technical support. And lately what we also do is we speak with the chains to see what is the marketing support that they can get, right? So a lot of games can build and they can launch, but they struggle with acquisition, right? So now we're speaking to up-and-coming layer ones. We figure out what kind of acquisition strategies that we can do, and the funding support that we actually get with the layer ones is to actually get players. We fund their wallets, we get them started, and that way there's a lot of retention through that, right? So the layer ones that are actually a lot more supportive is what we're looking for, and that's how we're kind of building out a lot of the protocol strategies.
And what is usually the rule of thumb in terms of acquisitions? What kind of percentage or numbers or proportion that usually gets you excited that you see?
Well, it's really tough because, the industry is very cyclical. Because now it's a bear market, it's easier to get higher retention. In the past, people were just cycling from one project to another. Everyone's just chasing alpha. And again, the regional focus is actually very crucial. Focusing it on growth markets like South Asia. These guys play, they spend a lot of time, and they put a lot into the game. So that's kind of how we kind of follow the trends.
Benjamin, when you have a game developing on Bitcoin, part of Animoca brands, what communities are you going after first? How do you build that kind of, let's call it consortium, to make it a successful token launch that is going to happen? And maybe you can give us more information on kind of your roadmap around that. What is the kind of building block that goes into starting with a game and launching a token?
So, I address differently the token from the game because the token is an ecosystem token, and the game will only be the flagship. That's one of the flagships that we will onboard within the ecosystem. I'm not a big promoter today of fungible tokens that are dedicated to one game because I'm still wondering what happens when people stop playing the game. And that's why I like very much this idea of ecosystem. I think it's way more resilient, way more sustainable. Now, in terms of communities, I think we're still in a market where, the onboarding, the first experience is a little bit challenging, and so we're very much focusing on Web3 gamers. So gamers who are already educated to Web3, they already have a wallet, they are already comfortable with the multiple struggles that they will have to start playing the experience. There's also, as Prakash was saying about growth market, I think it's very interesting and something that we completely disregarded at the beginning, completely wrongfully. Because naturally, being AAA game developers, like building blockbuster games, we used to focus on, market like North America and Western Europe. But Southeast Asia in general is extremely interesting. Spending time this year at CoinFest Asia, for instance, where we were together in Bali, talking with communities from the Philippines, from Thailand, from Indonesia. There is an insane opportunity over there of players who are very dedicated, and especially with games that are, even though they're not designed as play to earn, they have a play to earn mechanic, of course. And so you can really start connecting communities with different interests, different agenda, that can really, really well serve each other. So I think this is, and especially as we were talking about, driving engagement and interest here, I think focusing on these really upcoming market, which are already pretty big, by the way, is a priority.
You were mentioning the ecosystem token. Can you give us a little bit more insight about what are you looking for to make it a successful ecosystem token?
Well, so to make it a successful ecosystem token, you need first to make it a successful ecosystem. And that means having the right stakeholders in this ecosystem. Remember, the point of creating an ecosystem is to have actors who are contributing as much as they're benefiting. So it means having onboarded the right partners who are going to really drive value there. So of course, we're showing the way, we're leading the way at Darewise with a series of things. First, Life Beyond will adopt this token, and that will be a big driver of future demand and obviously liquidity. But we're also providing all of our technologies that we have developed, which are procedural world generation, networking technologies, avatar creation, this will be provided to the network for free. So it means if you enter the network and you're really ready to bring value yourself, you will access and benefit these technologies for free. And this is where we start creating this natural flywheel of network effect, where every time you onboard a new partner that can bring the right level of value, this partner will also benefit from the network. You know, and it might take several forms. It can be revenues, it can be user growth, it can be appreciation of the token that everybody will hold as well. So I think we're touching a very new, interesting form of capitalism, which is more of a community-driven capitalism. It's still a bit too early to realize all of the detail, but we're coming with a very interesting concept that we call proof of value that we will, I hope, publish in the next few weeks.
And as of today, how can the community, the gamers, investors within the space, how can they be part of it and contribute to what you are building?
Well, right now the major channel to be close to us is to join on our social. We already have a very active community, whether it's on Twitter or on Discord. But we will provide more opportunities in the future. So that's why I invite everybody to join us. Also to reach out. My DMs are completely open on Twitter. So any member who's interested to potentially join this ecosystem, because you might have a technology, you might have some content, you might be a brand, and you want to enter the metaverse ecosystem with the largest liquidity, which is Bitcoin, well, reach out, because we'll have some very interesting opportunities, including funding.
Yeah, and for those who don't follow Benjamin on Twitter, I invite you to do so, because he's very active with the Ordinals community, with the inscription, the Bitcoin ecosystem in general, and always posts some interesting pictures at all the events that he's actually attending. Prakash, what are you most excited about today with Ancient Starter?
So I think, you know, we are in a very tough place, right? We're kind of, you know, it's been a 2-year bear market. Things have been pretty tough. A lot of people are actually losing hope, and a lot of people are actually leaving the industry, right? There are people who are, you know, considering getting a job, and that's where projects like, you know, what Ben is building is that light of hope that the industry is looking for. And this is where, you know, all of us are kind of looking out for, you know, what's going to be the next thing. I mean, everyone's holding the breath, waiting for when the Bitcoin ETF is going to happen.
Next week.
Next week. That's alpha. But I feel that we are at that place where it's going to be that tipping point. This is where quality projects will start shining. And we now need to find these quality projects, support them in any way that we can. And that's primarily what we're focusing on from an Engine Starter perspective. The other key thing that we're working on is we're launching a impact-focused launchpad here in the UAE. It's going to be regulated, purely focused on climate finance. And eventually the intent is to marry the gaming industry with the climate finance industry, and that's where a whole lot of good will happen. So these are the two main areas that we're currently focused on.
Amazing. Belal, Prakash was saying that often people lose hope. When you see some of the portfolio or the companies that are coming here who come and see you guys and asking for help, asking for advice, what do you guys say from your perspective?
These are new hope, basically. I mean, look, we're very excited about new use cases. I mean, this is basically the reason why we got into crypto in the first place, is to see adoption from the real world, basically, of crypto. And because at DMCC we have the commodity sector also being there, we're playing an active role in facilitating that adoption, basically. And right now we see use cases of tokenization of gold, use of blockchain and healthcare and others taking place from the zone itself. And we want to see more of these projects, basically, and we want to, you know, support those projects and the growth of those projects. And that's the hope.
Well, I think that's a great way to end it. Belal, Prakash, Benjamin, thank you so much for this panel. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
What a panel, everybody. Let's give them another round of applause. Get a picture, guys. Don't go anywhere. Just so you know, if you haven't known, there is food being served in the back here. So please help yourself. We're going to take about a 5-minute break to give you all a little chance to get some food, dinner and a show, lunch and a show coming up next. Yeah. And then up next, I'm going to get this right. I want to picture this. Next up, we have media, IP, and Web3. The assets RWAs have been looking for. That will be coming up next in about 5 minutes. Until then, there is food. Enjoy.